Hi, in this video we are going to talk about the Datamart, what it is, and what are its main functionalities. First, let's have a look at how the data flow in a batch without the Datamart. Input files are loaded into the Algo input database through the UDS loader. During the load, a mapping is applied. Then, a UDS filter is used to export the data out of IDB into RiskWatch. RiskWatch receives the data in the same way that it's stored in the database. The data is then used for simulation, and RiskWatch exports an MTF cube and some context files. MTF cubes and context files are then used by an aggregator in order to produce reports. Now, let's have a look at the Datamart. The Datamart consists of three main parts. The product definition files handle how the data is loaded into the database, which records are loaded, and how the data is exported to RiskWatch. It is when the data is exported to RiskWatch that any mapping is applied. The mapping is described in the product definition file. Pooling allows the grouping of instruments of similar characteristics in order to reduce the number of instruments that are sent to RiskWatch. The solution file manages the way the batch behaves, which steps should be performed, and what are the attributes that will be used as a measure or a dimension in the reporting. Now let's have a look at the product definition files. The product definition file is an XML file, and each type of product present in the input file needs to have its own product definition file. A product definition file consists of three main parts. An input section that describes the data in the input file. The data is stored in the database exactly in the same format. A validation section that selects which record should be loaded into the database, and a mapping section that describes how the data is presented to RiskWatch. The mapping can be different for different solutions. This means that the data is stored in the database in a unique way. The mapping occurs when the data is exported to RiskWatch, and the same record can be presented to RiskWatch in one way for, say, market risk, and in another way for credit risk. In the input section, all the attributes that can be present in the input file are defined. The attribute is the name of the column in the input file. The name is the name of the attribute in the database, and the type is the type of the data. The validation section contains a list of validation rules. The message is the text that will be printed in the audit file. The name is the name of the rules, and the last component is the actual validation rules used to validate the record. The mapping section is where is defined how the record will be presented to RiskWatch. The mapping is defined for a specific solution or for a list of solutions. Here we can see that our record will be mapped out as a zero coupon bond spec. Then all the attributes exported to RiskWatch are listed. The name is the name of the attribute in RiskWatch. The value is the name of the field from the input file. Now let's talk about pooling. Pooling consists of grouping together instruments that share the same characteristic in order to reduce the number of instruments that are sent to RiskWatch. Instruments are first pooled together inside the database and then exported from the database to RiskWatch. Typically, millions of instruments will be grouped together into a few thousand pools. This will greatly reduce the amount of time that RiskWatch will take to simulate. The pool description file tells the pooling process how the instrument should be grouped together. During the pooling process, a report is generated. This report lists the pool ID for each instrument. It also gives information about the number of instrument pooled, the number of pools created, and the value of the instrument pooled. The solution file. The solution file is a configuration file that tells the batch how to handle the data and which are the steps that should be performed. The solution file is an XML file that can contain the definition of several solutions. If I look at the Basel 2 Pillar 2 solution here, I can see that some flags are set in order to let the Datamart know how to behave. Then a list of measures is defined. Measures are attributes used for the reporting. If we look in the market risk solution definition, we can see that a list of dimensions is defined there. Dimensions are attributes that are used for aggregation in reporting. Let's have a look now at the data flow with the Datamart. Input files are still loaded in the IDB through UDS, but there is no mapping done during the loading. Instead, the mapping is performed when the data is exported to RiskWatch. Product definition files are used to parameter the load of the data and its export to RiskWatch. Then the data can be pulled in the IDB. Pulling is optional. Then the data is exported out of RiskWatch to the aggregation tool. This is controlled by the solution file. This concludes this video. Thanks for watching.